All right, I'm live now. All right, Shalawama, Islam Moors. We're back. Let's begin. This is our next video. This is Gemini. Our book here is The Gospel and the Zodiac, The Secret Truth about J.C. the Christ figure. And here is the artist, all right, the Reverend Bill Darrell-El. Download the link. It's free. It's in the description area of this video. All right. If you've been here with me before and you have not subscribed, please do so now. If you stay longer than 5 minutes, like and share the video. All right. If you don't want to like and share it, please leave. That's the deal. All right. That's the deal. Okay, so we're going to begin on page 94. Page 94. All right. And this is turning out to be very, very interesting. Let me go back. In Mark's account, there was one man in the cave, and I remember being a young man in my teens and early 20s. I was always perplexed. Why is it that in Mark there's one demon-possessed man, but in Matthew there's two? That always troubled me, right? But then, you know, the religions, they have their doctrine and their explanation. They'll tell you something like, well, they just said it how they saw it, right? Or from their perspective. Okay, maybe that second one was not significant to Mark, so he didn't talk about the second one. Maybe the second one was in the background, or, you know, whatever. I don't even remember. That's been so many years ago. But I was always curious, and it always disturbed me. One moment, y'all. Let me check the chat. I mean, not the chat, but let me check to make sure we got a good signal. Always disturbed me, but I let it go. Looking back, I let it go because I wanted to believe, right? I wanted to believe. I wanted to be a part of the team. All right. And that was a huge mistake. Huge mistake. But that's what they were counting on, right? That's what they count on in religion, is that you would just begin to trust, right? And before you know it, they can say anything, do anything, make any excuse, and the members, they will just accept it, right? All right, let me check the signal. Mic check. All right. Okay, so we're in business. All right, we're in business, y'all. However, Mark, in the book of Mark, and this is in review, in the book of Mark, Mark only mentions one demon-possessed man with 2,000 demons, yet the word legion is used. All right, and the Greek word for legion is used there, okay? Now that word means 6,000. Mark says there's 2,000. Now my theory is, and it's just a theory, 2,000, 0. 2,000 is 2 with 3 zeros. All right, those zeros, you can just cancel them out, cross them out. Now you still have 2, which is what? The 2 twins, right? You still have the 2 twins, okay? Matthew, in his account of the story, he just comes right out and says, there are 2 demon-possessed men. All right, y'all? So that still takes us into 2. Okay, 2 Gemini, all right? 2 columns joined at the top and the bottom. Okay, so when you see Hebrew Israelites, standing between two columns. Y'all know what I'm talking about? You see them in the photos. There's two columns and they're posing, right? They don't realize that that's Gemini, okay? Yak-chan and Jo-chan, okay? The vernal equinox, the covenant of work, and the autumn equinox, which is the fall equinox, the covenant of grace. Opposites, right? Opposites, contrary to one another. Y'all see that? Gemini, the two columns, all right? So all of you Hebrew Israelites out there, all of you Christians who are saying astrology is somehow wicked and demonic, well, there you are, you and your leaders, y'all are deeply into astrology without even knowing it. So who is the fool? Who's the idiot? All right? JC, the Christ figure, is the sun, the rising sun. JC is on the boat. The scared apostles, in fear of their life, comes and wakes him up. Says the boat is going to crash. There's this raging storm. Seasoned sailors scared to death due to the storm. So they wake up JC, the Christ figure, and he tells the storm, be silent. At 5:30 or 5:45 in the morning, the sun begins to rise over the horizon, heating up the atmosphere. The heat from the rising sun causes the storm to be silent. So yes, the sun is your risen Savior. The Tetragrammaton is known to be the fierce storm god. Let me repeat that. The Tetragrammaton in religion, in Christianity, and Hebrew Israelitism is said to be the storm god. So go back to the story. The Father at night. All right? The Father is the mature man in the Trinity. You're out on the sea, it's cold, it's dark. The heated air from earlier during the day rises up and meets the cold air closer to the top, right, of what they call space. Y'all see what's happening? This is nighttime, okay? Nighttime. When the sun rises over the horizon, this is what? The sun rising, this is baby JC, the Christ figure, baby Horus. Your risen Savior. The sun rises and continues to rise until 12 o'clock noon. This is JC, the Christ figure, as a mature man. Okay, so that's two phases of the sun. It's rising, phase one. Its highest point in its orbit during the day, which is JC as a mature man at 12 o'clock, right? 12 o'clock noon, all right? And then what happens next? The sun continues in its path until when? Until it begins to set. It's the mature man who's in the decline of his life. All right, maybe by that time, if he didn't eat right, etc., he's walking with a cane or a walker or in a wheelchair. He's on the decline. He is descending, falling. The sun is setting. That's the initial Trinity. All right? So at night on the sea, the Father, the Tetragrammaton, the storm deity. The apostles are scared to death. Wake up, JC. What happens? The phase of the sun changes. Now we have the rising sun. The rising sun, the Savior of the world. Storm, be silent. 2,000 different directions. 2,000 demons. The person who is going in 2,000 different directions has no purpose, doesn't stick to one thing, scatterbrain, mental illness such as schizophrenia, bipolar, bias 2, borderline personality disorder. That's 2, right? Cycling between 2 different, in borderline personality disorder, that person is going to be very loving and caring. And when the mate or when the object of their affection begins to love them back and respond to that love and caring, they're going to reject them. They're going to reject them and do all kind of crazy behavior, really bizarre, crazy behavior. Like, for example, the normal person goes out to the car, going to work. The borderline personality disorder person will come out there, take your keys out your ignition. Try to prevent you from going to work. Cut up all your clothes. Disgrace you to your neighbors, to your family. Go to your job. Do all kind of crazy, bizarre stuff. Why? Because when you respond to their affection, to their love, they interpret that as being a sign that you're going to leave them, a sign that you're going to abandon them. Okay? So now what do? They begin to attack you, disgrace you. All right? When you pull away from them, what you should do, when you pull away from them, that's when they start to what? They change and they start to be loving and caring, doing everything they can to try to get you back, only to repeat the cycle, right? So you're oscillating between those two things, trauma and love, trauma and love. You're in a constant roller coaster with borderline personality disorder. Bipolar, I'm Superman, she's Superwoman. Today, 4, 5, 6 months later, ready to commit suicide. 4, 5, 6 months later, back to being Superman or Superwoman. All right? Schizophrenia. And unfortunately, don't forget narcissism. Okay? And I'm not talking about a healthy love for oneself. I'm talking about someone who's way, way far over on the narcissistic personality scale, right? People who don't see themselves as they are. All right? They're in another whole other reality. All right? So this is what the author is talking about when he talks about the number 2,000 demons. Okay? Misdirected, can't stick to one thing, can't finish one thing, always starting, never finishing, going in 1,000,001 different directions. Let me repeat that. Going in 2,000 different directions, 100 miles an hour, never accomplishing anything. Unpredictable personality, unstable personality. This, my friend, according to the author, this represents the 2,000 demons. This is the person who is ineffectual, running in circles or running in the same place, taking a lot of action, but it's just action, not getting them anywhere. All right? So according to the author, that person needs to do what? Get directed, get focused on one thing. All right, focus your mind on one thing. Become single-minded. And according to the author, this is the goal of all spirituality. Now, what I said, and I hold to it, what he's calling spirituality is nothing more but what you'll find in any of the success and achievement literature, beginning with Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill, Personal Power, Anthony Robbins, so on. Brian Tracy's work, Time Management. All right, my work. If y'all ever saw my book, Execution is Everything. It's a workbook, actually. Execution is Everything. All right. I think the full title is Strategy is Overrated. Execution is Everything. Right. So this person needs to know how to plan. All right. All right. Okay. So forget about this spiritual pie in the sky stuff. Okay. All of this confusing type of language that makes you start to wonder and guess. They want you to wonder and guess, what is spirit? What is a spiritual life? What is spiritual? That's so ambiguous. They want you to guess so that they can prep you to just accept whatever they tell you. All right. We're on page 94. Page 94. So let's begin with our new subheading. Y'all make sure y'all download this PDF and print it. All right. Also download Volany's Ruins so that when I do the natural law videos, y'all have the book. Okay. So here we go. Jairus' daughter and the woman with the blood flow. Upon JC's return to Galilee, he encounters Jairus, the synagogue official. Excuse me, y'all. The synagogue official whose 12-year-old daughter is desperately ill. On the way to Jairus' house, JC the Christ figure is approached by a woman who has been suffering a vaginal blood flow for 12 years. She reaches out and touches his clothing and is immediately cured. After commending the woman's faith, JC, the Christ figure, and his companions proceed to Jairus' house. On the way, they are met by some people who report that the girl is now dead. But on arrival at the house, JC tells them all that she is not dead. She is only sleeping. Everybody is familiar with this story, right? The final part of the story runs as follows. This is coming from Mark chapter 5, verse 40 through 43. After he put them all out, he took the child's father and mother and the disciples who were with him and went in where the child was. He took her by the hand and said to her, Talitha, Koum, which means, little girl, I say to you, get up. Immediately, the girl stood up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. At this, they were completely astonished. He gave strict orders not to let anyone know about this and told them to give her something to eat. Mark chapter 5, verse 40 through 43. Y'all like the video, please. Like the video. Share it, please. Okay, y'all. And subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. I'm going to go into the comment section. I'm in the live chat, so if y'all want to say something, put it in there. I can put it on the screen. If you want me to comment, I can. This is one of the few places in the Gospels where Aramaic words, talitha, comb, are used. Now, isn't that interesting, right? Because they say JC, the Christ figure, spoke Aramaic. Yeah, this is one of the few places where an Aramaic word appears. You should note, according to the Devil's Pulpit, that the original Gospels were written in Coptic Egyptian and then translated into Latin, evidenced by Latin suffixes on Greek words, meaning that the original language is Coptic Egyptian. It was translated into Latin. And lastly, it was translated into Greek. And those Greek words, some of them had what? Latin suffixes on them. All right? That's the true story. You go get that in the Devil's Pulpit if you want the details. All right? The link is in the description area of this video. All of y'all should get these books and read these books and master it. All right? You should at minimum be aware of the issues, the arguments, right? You should at least be aware of those verses that are alleged to be astrotheological. Whether you believe it or not, you should have that education. All right. Let's continue. Aramaic would have been the first language of JC, the Christ figure, and the apostles. And this has given rise to the conventional idea that Mark is here preserving actual remembered words. There is, however, another possible explanation. JC's words are given in Aramaic in order to emphasize them. So let's deal with these. Okay, to begin with, these Gospels were initially written in Coptic Egyptian. So we can scrap both of those, right? We can scrap both of them. It was translated later into Latin. Again, we can scrap both of what the author just said here. Both of them. We can scrap them. Right? Y'all see my reasoning? Do y'all see my reasoning? There's no evidence that these Gospels were written in Aramaic. They're written in Coptic Egyptian, translated into Latin, and then lastly translated into Greek to mystify, cover over their Coptic Egyptian origin, which is the preservation of the ancient knowledge of the sun's trek or its ecliptic or its annual orbit. All right, its annual orbit in relation to the 12 zodiacs that form a ring around the ecliptic. That's all it was. All right, all it was. But it was gotten a hold of and edited. All right, and when it went up into Europe, that's when they put the big doozy edits into it. All right, y'all? All right. So let's continue. There is, however, another possible explanation. We already read that. This command is not just to Jairus' daughter, but to us all. Okay, now this command is based upon nothing. This command is for us all. Like her, the 12-year-old daughter, we are asleep. We have no will, no resolve, no purpose. Now, I don't know about you, but that don't apply to me. I have a very strong will. I have a very clearly defined purpose. I've got goals and deadlines, milestones and action steps. Okay? We, who the heck are you talking about we? Y'all see how you have to read actively, not passively. Don't accept we. No, you. I'm not asleep. So don't read this passively and agree with everything you read. All right? Yeah, okay, I understand. Okay, I understand that. Okay, I got it. No, that's not the way to read. All right? Do not do that. Challenge, think. All right? Don't accept anything. Okay? Think, analyze. Think and analyze. We have no will, no resolve, no purpose. That applies to a Christian. Yes, that applies to a Christian. All right? It has to be. You Christians, you have to be what? Let me read it again. You have to be outside of nature, right? Let me read it again. You have to be asleep, having no willpower, no resolve, no purpose. All right? The Geminian fragmentation of our nature, no, not of ours, of your nature, only exists because we are unaware of it. We believe we have a controlling center in quote unquote I. That's a first person I. When in fact, we are composed of hundreds of I's, each with its own agenda. So this is what the author talked about, split personalities or multiple personalities, or you're going in multiple different, 2,000 different directions, right? Today you want this, tomorrow you want that, etc. All right? But don't put that on me, that's you. You're a scatterbrain, I'm not. Get that straight. Not everybody is scatterbrain, all right? People are scatterbrained when they're lost. If you're well grounded in reality, you're not going to be scatterbrained. Okay? If you are well grounded in nature, you will not be scatterbrained. Y'all can think about why, but I need to move forward. The first step in overcoming this is, as Ouspensky says, quote, awakening. Since the chief feature of our being is that we are asleep. That's y'all Christians. Y'all been put to sleep. By trying to awake, we change our being. Ouspensky, 1957, page 46. So y'all wake up. Wake up. Accept this astro-theological education. Make a dedication to get the education without getting scared, without unsubscribing, without complaining to YouTube about my content, trying to shut me down, without going to Amazon complaining about my content so that they won't sell my books, all the dirty, rotten stuff that you Hebrew Israelites and others have done. I'm still here despite what you have done. Despite what you have done. I'm still here, still productive, still putting out the ancient Ibaryath, still telling the truth about the astro-theological nature of the Gospels and the New Testament, who the Tetragrammaton is, and all of the lies and deception, Jeremiah 8:8 occurrences throughout the Old and the New Testaments. All right? Watch the video I did with Sonetta. All Abrahamic religions are a fraud. All right? Y'all should have that basic fundamental knowledge. Okay? So let's continue. So wake up. Don't be scared to get this education. Lightning ain't gonna strike you. The Gemini, Ralph Waldo Emerson, born May 25th, 1803. He's the famous guy in the book Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill, who Napoleon Hill basically got his information about the law of compensation from Emerson. All right. That's who this guy is. All right. And so that's very significant. In other words, it ain't no free nut. There's no free lunch. Okay. If you get away with something, you're going to pay for it tomorrow. All right. Let's look at his quote. All right. So Emerson puts it like this in his essay called The Preacher. Quote, all that we call religion, all that saints and churches and Bibles from the beginning of the world have aimed at, is to suppress this impertinent surface action and animate man to central and entire action. The human race are afflicted with a Saint Vitus's dance. Their fingers and toes, their members, their senses, their talents are superfluously active, while the turpid heart gives no oracle. So you're taking action. The author is saying you're doing a lot of stuff, but you're running in the same place. You're on a treadmill. All right? No direction. Now, I wonder if he understands when he's talking about humans. I wonder if he's understanding. Well, he has to be. When he says human, he's talking about the hybrids. 1803. So y'all know what was happening in North America, in Mexico, in South America in 1803. So he is talking about the hybrids when he says humans. All right? They are scatterbrained, mental health issues. Y'all see what I'm saying? Killing for gold, killing for diamonds, no regard for man. When that wakes, it will revolutionize the world. Let that speak, and all these rebels will fly their loyalty. Now every man defeats his own action, professes this, but practices the reverse. This is what the Apostle Paul said, right? What he wishes to do, the good he wishes to do, he doesn't. But he does what? He does the bad. And when he's doing bad, the devil made him do it. Why? Paul says, and when I'm doing the sin, it is not me who is doing it, but the sin that resides in me. Well, this concept of sin, that's New Testament. That's New Testament. All right? You will not find that in the book of the law. You will not find it. You won't find it in the Hebrew scriptures. That's New Testament. Now, every man defeats his own action, professes this, practices the reverse. With one hand rows, but with the other backs water. Self-sabotage, right? Half-hearted. A man acts not from one motive, but from many shifting fears and short motives. All right, so this is the guy who's scared and or the woman who's afraid and who's in doubt all the time. Doubts everything. Never moving ahead confidently. Never knowing exactly what they want. All right, quitting easy, not starting. Okay, lack of persistence, lack of consistency, etc., etc., etc. It is as if he were 10 or 12 less men than himself, acting at discord with one another, so that the result of most lives is zero. In other words, he's working against himself, right? Take 2 steps forward today and then takes 2 steps backwards tomorrow. But when he shall act from one motive, when he shall become focused. Thank you very much. It's an herbal drink. It's hot. It's a fruity herbal drink. It's a traditional herbal drink here in Vietnam. I enjoy it. It's very healthy for you too. Very healthy for your digestive tract, okay, for your gut. Okay, let's get back to it. All right. Continues to read. But when he shall act from one motive, that means that when you decide what you're going to do, even if it's as small as saying, my purpose today is to get a cup of black coffee. You put every action, every thought toward getting a cup of black coffee today, not tomorrow, not next week, not next year. Now, when you realize that there's only the glorious now, the past is gone, the future doesn't exist, both of them are only in your imagination. That puts you in the world of abstracts. Christianity is the world of abstracts. When you step out of now, you step out of nature, you step outside of natural law. That's when you're going to have problems. So in nature, nature forces you to be in the now. Nature forces you to be single-minded, focused. And all his faculties play true. It is clear mathematically, it is not that this will tell in the result as if 20 men had cooperated, will give new senses, new wisdom of its own kind, that is, not more facts, not more combinations or new combinations, but divination or direct intuition of men and things. So in other words, what the author is saying, what he means by divination, what he's saying is that when you become single-minded, singularly focused, your mental images, your self-images see you positively having attained your purpose, your goal, getting a cup of coffee, okay? And your actions are consistent with that self-image and your thoughts. You rise to another level of consciousness. Yes, you rise to another level of consciousness. You begin to vibrate with the universe and you manifest, you attract that black cup of coffee. That man or that woman. And if you messed up out here, you're trying to attract a Han Uman. Be careful what you wish for. Let me rephrase that. Be careful of what you focus your mind on. Your mind will focus on what you want or what you don't want. There's no in between. It will focus on what you want most or what you are most afraid of. Look around your life. That will tell you what you're focused on, whether you're conscious of it or not, whether you want to accept that evidence or not. That is the fact. If you're honest with yourself, look at your life, and that will tell you where your head is at and how you need to adjust your thinking and imagination, your self-image, all right? But this all takes practice. What this author is talking about here is nothing that you can't read in any good success and achievement book, any good book on how to sell, time management, or even my book, especially my book. Strategy is highly overrated. Execution is everything. I wrote that book so long ago. No, it's called Execute and Grow Rich. I don't remember. It might be on my website, zionlawschool.org, zionlawschool.org. It's a workbook, y'all. But you get the techniques, all of the techniques and strategies, all of the time management skills, goal setting skills, learning how to execute. All of this is simply to get you to believe in yourself, to change your self-image so that you will accept and see yourself as already having achieved that goal. You know, I've already got my cup of coffee, as it were, right? That's all it's about. Getting from where you are to want to be to where you want to be. That's really it. All right. So let's not deal with this spiritual stuff. Okay. Let's keep things in reality. Okay. Quote unquote, awakening is a consistent theme of all the world's spiritual traditions. The Buddha is, quote, the awakened one. Huxley writes. Now, isn't it interesting how they have hijacked that term from us being awake or woke, right? and they use it in a very negative way. Well, this is what the hybrid will always do. That's what they'll always do. Hijack a term or anything else that has value, that has energy behind it. Everybody knows what it is. Take it and then flip it and then use it in a very negative way. Okay? The woke right. All of these type of terms that carry some negative meaning. Okay? When in fact, you so-called religious people, reverends and pastors, bishops and cardinals, generals, officers, captains, mores and moshes, your spiritual New Testament and other religions say that being woke or waking up is what all the spiritual traditions are about. How hypocritical. How hypocritical of them, right? To vilify someone for being woke and then turn around and tell you about their Judeo-Christian legal system or about their freedom, etc., etc., etc. In one of the Pali scriptures, there is a significant anecdote about the Brahmin Drona who, quote, seeing the blessed one sitting at the foot of the tree, asked him, quote, are you a diva, end quote? And the exalted one answered, I am not. Are you a grand harva? I am not. Are you a yaksha? I am not. Are you a man? I am not a man. On the Brahmin asking what he might be, the blessed one or Buddha replied, quote, those evil influences, those cravings, whose non-destruction would have individualized me as a diva, a grand harva, a yaksha. Okay, so those are three types of supernatural beings, according to the text here, that's in parentheses, or a man I have completely annihilated. Now, therefore, that I am a Buddha, I am awake. So Buddha, what he's saying here, I am a Buddha means I am awake. This is Huxley, page 54. So here we see I am, right? I am awake. I am whatever I say I am, right? The law is whatever I say the law is. I am. That's a singular purpose, right? I am. Okay? I am. Did y'all get that? All right. So that's Buddha's way of not being scatterbrained. Okay. Enlightenment for the Buddha is simply waking up. Wake up to your nationality. Wake up to nature. Return to nature. Wake up. Wake up and become civilly alive. Lazarus, come on out. Wake up from your civilly dead state, you black person. You African American person, wake up. Lazarus, come on out of Christianity. Come on out of external deity worship and return to nature. Return to yourself. You're your own savior. Return to the principles, the culture, and heritage of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. Exodus chapter 20, verse 12. Follow the law. What is that law? We've said it a million times already. That is the lectures of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. That's what the law is. And that's what we were told to do, right? Do what your mama told you to do. Okay? Those are the commandments. All right? Those are the commandments. And anything outside of being a natural law, we would call those instructions what? Culture. This is the way we do things around here. You respect that. Okay, it's not a natural law, but this is what your mama said to do. Or my ancestor says, don't go over there and fooling around with those people. Right? Or we prepare things this way. We do things that way. That's culture. All right? That's culture. Wow, this is really good. I wish I could show y'all. It looks like tea, but it has a sweet taste. It tastes fruity. Very, very, very good. Very good. Let's continue. But you know, I cannot overemphasize how important it is to follow the instructions of your ancient foremothers and forefathers. What does that mean? That means that what they say, what they said, carries more weight than any authority figure you see on the news. Carries more weight than any foreigner, any colonist. You don't need to understand it. You do what your foremothers and forefathers told you to do. You don't trust foreigners. You definitely don't do the things that they tell you to do. All right, y'all? And that's the problem, one of the big problems amongst our people right now. Y'all bought the okie doke. You think because you read something in a textbook or there's some fancy mathematical equation or some fancy philosophical framework, theory, and you spent hours or days or months or years trying to figure it out, now you think you got it. Okay, now you disrespect your ancient foremothers and forefathers over a theory which they're telling you, if you understood that's just a guess, right? And you don't even know if the evidence or if you don't know about the evidence, you don't know anything. You're just reading what you read in the book, trying to make sense of it. And some of y'all don't even do that, right? Some of you are not weighing it against your own experience in life. Some of y'all haven't learned how to do that yet, especially if you're young. But anyway, let's continue. I got off topic. let's continue. The most obvious Gemini feature of the story of Jairus' daughter is the way in which it is told. Okay, so now here we're going to get into it. It is the only miracle story in the gospel which combines two quite separate elements. Nainham writes, quote, what we have here is without precise parallel in the gospel. An incident broken into by another incident, which takes place in the middle of it. Y'all got that? This is Nainham, page 156, 7. So you have two stories. The woman who was bleeding, right? And then what comes? The little girl who died. All right? This is what he's talking about, two stories. Let me read it again. The most obvious Gemini feature of the story of Jairus' daughter is the way in which the story is told. It is the only miracle story in the Gospels which combines two quite separate elements. Nainham writes, what we have here, that is with regards to Jairus' daughter, is without precise parallel. In other words, there's no other story like this, okay, in the Gospels. An incident or a story broken into by another story, which he's calling an incident, which takes place in the middle of that story. That's Nainham, page 156 and 7. In addition, however, we should consider the name, quote unquote, Jairus, which is Larios, which means appropriately the tetragrammaton enlightens, but which also bears more than a passing resemblance to the name of the brightest star in the night sky, Sirius, in Greek, Sirios, the dog star, which is found in Canis Major. Now we're on page 95, y'all. We're going to go to number 96. One of the Gemini deacons, and whose name means the chief one, the leader. Well, isn't that who the tetragrammaton is said to be? Jairus, we are told, is the Archison Angogon, the leader or ruler of the synagogue. And as Ptolemy reminds us, the heliacal rising of Sirius at the summer solstice presaged the beginning of the Egyptian New Year and the flooding of the Nile. This is a quote from Ptolemy, page 196, thus connecting this star with the constantly menstruating woman. Did y'all get that? The flooding of the Nile is the menstruation of the woman. That was on page 96, y'all. So the flooding of the Nile is the constantly menstruating woman. Let me read it again. Well, let me show the page. Let me show the page. Y'all make sure y'all download this so you can read this yourself, okay? Don't cheat yourself by not downloading this. I can take you to the well, but I can't make you drink. So y'all pause the video when y'all watch this a second time. Pause the video so you can read this. All right, pause it so you can read it. Let me pull it out some. All right. Pause it so you can read it. And y'all don't get mad at me. I mean, if you get mad at me, I could care less, but I'm saying it don't make no sense to get mad at me for showing you this information. All right, so there you have it, y'all. There you have it. So these deacons, what have we observed? These deacons, these nearby constellations signal, they actually signal or flag these verses. Y'all see that? These deacon constellations, meaning constellations that are in the same neighborhood as the zodiac sign, actually flag these verses as being zodiacal. All right. So there we have it. So what are the stars involved? Oh, let me show the word here so that there is no doubt about it. If y'all too lazy to download the video, take a look at the Greek word here. Pause the video and read it. Take a look at the Greek word for Jairus. Let me try to get that right there. All right. Take a look at where it's telling you about the canine constellation. It's the bottom paragraph. Hold on. The bottom paragraph. Let me get that right. It should autofocus. Y'all see it? Canis Minor, the dog star. All right. Sirius, I believe, is mentioned here. Sirius is linked to Jairus. All right. Y'all see it? Yes. Sirius is on the last line. All right. So Jairus, which means appropriately the tetragrammaton enlightens, but which also bears more than a passing resemblance to the brightest star in the night sky, which is Sirius, in Greek, Sirios. All right, so Jairus, the Greek for Jairus and Sirius are related. Okay, they have the same stem. The dog star, which is found in Canis Major, and Canis Major is a what? A deacon of Gemini. It's located near Gemini. All right, and whose name is the chief one, the leader? Isn't JC the chief one, the leader? I'm sorry, not JC, but the father, right? He's the leader, the ultimate leader, right? Jairus, we are told, is the Archis son Agagon. Archisunagogon, the leader or ruler of the synagogue. And as Ptolemy reminds us, the heliacal rising of Sirius at the summer solstice presaged the beginning of the Egyptian New Year and the flooding of the Nile. This is on Ptolemy, page 196, all right? So rising Sirius during the summer solstice signaled the time or the Egyptian New Year, which began with the flooding of the Nile. Y'all got that? Thus connecting this star, Sirius, with the constantly menstruating woman. Y'all got that? All right. In addition to being a possible zodiacal reference, Mark's double use of the number 12 provides us with further evidence that we are meant to link the two females. Y'all got that? Link the two females. So there's two females, all right? The menstruating woman and the 12-year-old girl, all right? And thus this double story is not just a narrative accident. The woman with the flow of blood has been sick for 12 years. Mark chapter 5, verse 25. While the little girl is 12 years old. Mark 5, 42. The contrast between the young girl and the older woman reflects two of the deacons of Gemini, Canis Major and Canis Minor, the big dog and the little dog constellations. But Mark's narrative is also playing with contrasting features of the astronomy and mythology of Gemini's stars, which are Castor and Pollux. Although twin stars, Castor and Pollux differ in brilliancy. And at the time Mark was writing, Castor was the brighter of the two stars, a situation which, strangely, has been reversed in the last 3 centuries. In the myth, they were the sons of Leda. Castor had a human father and was therefore mortal, but Pollux had been sired by Zeus, that's the Tetragrammaton, and was immortal. That's very interesting, y'all. Very, very interesting. Such was their love for each other that they eventually agreed to share immortality, living and dying alternatively. In an ancient Euphratean representation, they are depicted as the sun and the moon, the one rising as the other sets. Consequently, they came to symbolize the eternal battle between vitality and decay, youth and age, life and death, themes which are clearly echoed in Mark's narrative. By linking the two stories, Mark is one more emphasizing the theme of unity. All right, I see that. The young girl is the daughter of a prominent official, and so we can assume that her family is prosperous as well as powerful. The woman with the flow of blood is older and, what is more, on the lower stratum of society, because it was forbidden for a Jewish man to have any sexual relations with his wife during her menstrual period. This is Ezekiel 18:6. This lady would have had to forsake the society of men for the duration of her illness. The two women represent opposite poles of Jewish society, rich and poor, young and old, illustrious and outcast. In the power of the Christ, they are united. So there's a footnote, let's read it. Immediately following his account of this dual miracle, Matthew tells 2 more stories which are not found in Mark, but which expresses the Gemini theme. The healing of the 2 blind men, Matthew chapter 9, verse 27 through 31, and the cure of the mute, Matthew chapter 9, verse 32 through 34. Gemini duality is obvious in the first. The second miracle, or the second, relates to Gemini's rule over speech and communication generally. Luke does not have these 2 stories, probably because he copied from a version of Mark, which, like canonical Mark, does not have them either. The fact that Matthew has them is yet another indication that the version of Mark that he used was longer and more comprehensive than canonical Mark. and what is more, at times more clearly zodiacal in its theme. So the scholar here is telling us that these gospels were copied. They were not accounts that were given by Holy Spirit and the Holy Spirit had them writing. No, according to this author, they got a copy and they started writing. And the copy they had maybe didn't have everything in it. All right, so that's what he's saying. Shalom Islam to the Moors. If you want to get with me, my links are in the description area of this video. Y'all stay with me, support my project to write the book of the law in ancient Ibaryath and in modern English, and to remove all of the deception, all of the deceit, the lies and mythology, and to clearly show the natural law principles and the methodologies such as a sheet and bills of attainder that are mentioned in those documents that document how our open enemies would oppress and denationalize us. Islam to all the Moors, and Shalom to all of the Genesis chapter 2 rightful heirs.